Okay, good morning again, brothers and sisters. Okay, we will do our last presentation, and hopefully it will be shorter so that we can at least have a longer time to pray. Again, I'm not aiming to make use of all your time to pray. I would rather give you an opportunity to actually pray. One sister approached me and sabi niya, Raoul, this retreat is the most intense retreat that I've ever attended in Lingkod. And I think it's part of what happens to us when we really confront God and be with God. Sometimes when you rely on the person speaking to speak to you, like kunyari, myself, getting inspiration from me, you could get some inspiration from me. But when you confront God and when you really pray and be with God, you will realize that He could say a lot more to you. And that's why I think sometimes a retreat that opens the floor for a longer prayer is really very intense. At the same time, the theme that we are talking about is something so basic, but at the same time so central to our Christian belief. Denying oneself was the first thing that we wanted to say. That is very simple truth. If you want the absolute authority in your life that would give you meaning, don't look to yourself. Or don't look to anything else, but look to God. That's why Jesus was very confident. Deny yourself. Have you ever wondered, He could have said, deny the emperor, or deny this. But no, He did not say that. He said, deny yourself. Because He knew that the first reality we need to struggle with is ourselves. To be able to give ourselves to Him. And yet the invitation is also very challenging. In denying ourselves, Jesus invites us, take up your cross. This time, we're not talking about taking up our suffering or the challenges in life. Some people immediately think that that is what the cross is all about. But I think we all realize that the cross is not primarily our suffering, but it's a symbol of love. The symbol of embracing a life of love. And when you choose to live a life of love, you will realize it's also not easy. But at the same time, Jesus is assuring us, if you take up the cross, that's where you would find life. And today, that's what we would like to reflect on. That in following Christ, in realizing this, we can find life. Because as Jesus said in the second presentation, this taking up the cross, this choice to put it on ourselves, is not really a punishment. Okay? But it's a free act of love. And taking up the cross is a choice to live a life of love. And brothers and sisters, taking up the cross as an act of love is something very meaningful. It's something that's supposed to give us what we're looking for in life. A summary of what we're supposed to do as human beings is this: love God and love your neighbor. So, last but not the least, let's continue to reflect on this invitation. Jesus tells us, deny yourself, take up the cross. In doing those two things, what are you doing? You are following me. Okay? Now, you have to admit that Jesus Christ is rather radical. If any of you watched Father Baron's presentation on the Catholic faith, one of the things that he wanted to emphasize is this very simple truth. We're the only religion that speaks of a man who is also God. And this man who walked in this world told people not to follow God, but to follow Him. Because in following Him, you are following God. And that's, in a certain way, that's radical. We're the only religion that does not have a representative. Our religion is about a God who became one of us. That's why this classic conversation between the disciples and Jesus Christ. One of his disciples, after Jesus Christ declared this, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one goes to the Father except through me. Yung isang pilosopo nagtanong, kasi narinig niya eh. He heard, of course, sorry, I'm speaking in Tagalog. Don't worry, I'm translating it again in English. This disciple when he heard the word Father, the disciple said, okay, you are the way to the Father? Show us the Father. So Philip, who was asking that question, was being logical. He was telling them, hey, if you want to find God, I am the way. So Philip said, then show us God. Show us the Father. And Jesus Christ confidently looked at Philip and said, Philip, have I been with you for so long and yet you do not know me? He who has seen me has seen the Father. Are you looking for God? You are right in front of Him. A lot of people sometimes forget that that's a radical claim. Benedict XVI said this in one of his addresses, one of his homilies. Benedict XVI is one of the popes that people sometimes right now are tending to forget. But Benedict XVI did some things in his papacy that really has opened the floor for Pope Francis to continue proclaiming the good news. If you were to summarize Benedict XVI's role, he was in between Pope John Paul II, who was a great pope, and Pope Francis, who seemed to be making a difference in the world. But in between is this very solid preacher of God's Word. A very good pastor. And Benedict is also a very humble man. He spoke about Jesus Christ clearly to the world. And he said this, can you be good? Can you experience this call to be a Christian? And what is your response to this? Well, this question will be answered by Benedict. And some people, when you hear this question, would say this, of course, yes. Diba? Yes. Because there are Christians out there who believe in God and following the Lord, and that's obvious. But there's also people who do not believe in God who are also very good, right? So, it's arrogant for us to actually make a claim that only Christians can be good, right? So yes, if somebody tells you who's not a Christian, can you be good without God? Well, the answer is yes. But how about this? Can you be good without following Christ? And the answer is no. Because even those who do not believe in Christ, who are doing the good, are actually following Christ, even if they don't see it. And what's beautiful is Benedict XVI wanted to make that clear to everyone. He wanted to tell people that the central figure of Christianity is this man, Jesus Christ, who claims to be God. And even those who don't believe in God are doing the good because of God. And they are unconsciously, and maybe even not so sure about it, they don't believe in God, but the good that they do is connected with this man. Christians should not be arrogant. Christians should not say, I am the only source of good. But the one who started this religion is very clear. There is no way to God except through me. There is no way to be good except by following me. And even if you don't accept that, those who are doing good are actually following me. So why follow Him? It's very surprising that consistently this image is spoken to us. This man is also God, became one of us. He sympathized with our weaknesses. He, in every respect, was tempted as we are and yet without sin. Therefore, the invitation is this. Benedict says this. If this is the religion we believe in, what are we talking about? We're talking about a God who is not remote from us, unknown, enigmatic, or perhaps dangerous. God is so close to us, we can informally address this God. We live in a world where people say, I do not need God to be good. I do not need Christianity to be good. You can actually tell them, you know what? You might not know exactly what you're saying, but if you want to be good, the moment you choose to be good, you are actually finding God. Even if you don't believe He exists. Because the truth of the matter is, Christianity proclaims this very simple truth. God is not a stranger. God is a reality who came into this world. And that's why the letter to the Hebrews invites all of us, the same way Benedict reminds us, God is not remote. Let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Let me make this concrete. I was talking to this young person, and she told me, I don't believe in God. I am this very intelligent person, I've analyzed it, I don't believe in God. We had a conversation, after having a conversation, explaining Christianity to this person. At some point she said, you know, I'm beginning to open myself to believing in God. So, again, we had a conversation, talk about that, because she was asking a lot of questions. Finally, I had a conversation with her, and she just admittedly said this. I don't believe in God because I'm angry at Him. My grandmother died, and my grandmother was everything to me. And I wanted my grandmother to live. But she died. God did not do anything about it. And I was angry at God. That's why it's hard for me to believe. But recently, she said, I've been opening myself to the reality of God, trying to find Him, pray to Him. And you know what? Something happened to me. Sabi ko, talaga, what happened to you? You won't believe this. I had a dream. And in that dream, I was talking to my grandmother. And as I was talking to my grandmother, I started experiencing God in the dream. It was so real that when I woke up, I just felt, God is real. And I told her, you know what? I think there is really a God. Really? Why? Because of all people in this world, you're the only person that I know who's so logical and so reasonable that you cannot be convinced by something like that. It's just a dream, okay? And then she goes, you are right. That's illogical. But it was so real. That's exactly the point. God knows that the only way to convince you is to speak to you in a dream. Now, will many of us experience something like that? Will any of us find something as concrete as that? Well, if God is really who He is, the letter to the Hebrews reminds us, Let us then, with confidence, draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy. What's mercy? Favor given to those who do not deserve. This young woman was so logical, she was rejecting God. And all she did was, God, are you there? And maybe in a sarcastic way, right? But that sarcastic prayer was heard. Because our God is a God who gives even to those who do not deserve. And all we need to do is approach Him a little bit. And we will find what we're looking for. That's why Jesus says, follow me. Because if you follow me, this is what you will experience. He who would save his life will lose it. And he who would lose his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. If you're looking for what will make you happy, and if you're looking for what will make you fulfilled, you can only find it in God. What do we do? Well, first, the main suggestion is lose your life for His sake. How do we do this? Well, simple. First step in losing our life, don't stop believing. Parang kanta, no? It's like a song. But there's something about this, C.S. Lewis said this: faith is this virtue that believes even in our changing moods. Because it's true. You might believe something is true. God is true. But it's possible for your moods to change. Right? So make a choice to say, even if your moods change, the truth about God does not change. Second, how do you lose your life? Second approach to losing our life. Well, obey the commandments. Some people say, what's the will of God? Well, the will of God is very clear, at least with a few things. 10 truths about how we're supposed to behave. The 10 commandments. About your work, whether you go to the US or work or not, whether to say yes to this guy or that guy, God does not become very specific about those things. But the most important things in life, He has made clear. Love God, love your neighbor. Very clear. Last point is this: okay, if you want to lose your life, I say, how do we lose our life for the gospel, for spreading the good news? Well, 2 points. This Lenten season, help someone in need. One of the best ways to get out of our worries, anxieties, is to actually help someone who has greater anxieties and greater problems than us. I know of a woman, I met her in the Missionaries of Charity. And when I was asking the people there, who is this woman? Then the people there said, well, she's a very successful businesswoman and she comes here every weekend to help us out. And I realized this woman has found no meaning in getting all the money she got in the world. She found meaning in spending every weekend helping out. And there, she is not a businesswoman. She's an ordinary woman trying to help people who are in need. Second, how do you lose yourself for the sake of the gospel? Simple. Help somebody find God. There are a lot of people out there who are looking for what you have found. Try your best to evangelize. Try your best to convince people. Try your best to share your experience of God to others. And in the end, you will find what you're looking for. So brothers and sisters, I just like what these invite us, these last few minutes. We still have actually a good 45 minutes, including merienda, to do this. Spend as much as you can to actually pray. This time, I'd like you to go back to the passage. It's so short that you could actually memorize it. Read it, reflect on it again. then look at your notes. And remember the meditations you had these past days. And try to highlight the striking ones. And then end with a simple prayer, committing yourself to follow Christ more clearly. Just simple prayer. Those who watch Starting Over Again, there is a program that you could later you could look for it in the internet, and you can write this letter in your application so that this would return to you maybe after a year, and see if you lived out this prayer that you have committed yourself to. So, okay, so we'll spend time now to pray. I think I don't have to pass the mic to Nar. We will see each other again. May merienda tayo ng anong oras pa? May merienda ba? Wala nang merienda, no? So may merienda man, you can just take it a little before 10:30. But use this time to actually pray, to again go back to a time of prayer. You can, I think, still move around. Just come back here before 10:30. Okay, let's begin our time of reflection.